Hello and welcome back to our series on the Sacred Heart of Christ. Other religions are man's attempt to reach God. However, our faith is God's attempt to reach us, or God's efforts to reach us. It's interesting to look at other religions then and see how we would naturally have tried to reach out towards God. As a child, I loved to read up the mythologies and about the pagan gods of other religions. And one thing that struck me was that in these other religions, God is always seen as bigger than us, which is true. And yet to represent that biggerness that God has, people would choose images of fear. Say Anubis, the black jackal that comes at night and represents death. Say Horus, the Egyptian god of sun, but also a falcon, seeing from afar who can strike you. Or in the Greek world, Apollo, a god of sun who can strike you down with his arrows because of the power of a hot sun. Also the power of lightning and thunder that can destroy you and you can never know where or why back in those days, be that with Zeus or Jupiter, be that with Thor. God was seen as someone bigger than us, showing his power, be that through elemental powers of nature, or be that through the fact that we're limited and small and we can die. He was shown in things that are scary. That's how we imagined God to be. Other ways of relating to God is bigger, were by saying he's found in a certain place, a mountain or something that's bigger than you. A force again of nature. Or God is found in our tribe. If you're part of the tribe, you have God. If you are abandoned by your tribe, you no longer have God. And when God reaches down to us, no longer our attempts to him, but his attempt of reaching us, he does the opposite. He knows that we would make those mistakes and attribute to God fear and terror and power and absorbing ourselves into something bigger than us and only there feeling like we could reach God. And God does the opposite. He calls Abraham out of Ur, out of his city, and says, I want you to leave your tribe. And I'm choosing you without children. I'm choosing someone who doesn't have kids. You can't start your own tribe. Your wife is barren. You're an old man already. And I want you to leave not just your tribe, but your land. I want you to have no land. I want you to wander. You will not meet me on a certain mountain. You will meet me wherever you go. And I will not show myself to you in forces of power and earthquakes and fire. I will simply speak to you and call you by name. That's how I'll relate to you. We often think of Moses as a prophet of God's power. We think of him as parting the Red Sea, and yet when God meets Moses at the burning bush, Moses is not powerful. He's a runaway wanted for murder. He's far from the other Israelites. He has no family as yet, and he's just a poor shepherd, again wandering, so no land, no tribe, and no power. And God doesn't come in a burning bush like a whirlwind fire that's destructive and scary. Moses is drawn towards the burning bush saying, why is it not destroyed? Why is this a fire I am not afraid of? Why is God coming in this way? And that's when God calls him and says, Moses. Again, he calls him by name. And see, from the very start, God is wanting not for us to know that he's bigger and to be afraid and terrified of him, but to be interested, to be looking. He's not wanting us because our tribe is good or strong. He's not wanting us because we are strong. He's not wanting us because we're in the right land or the right place. He's calling you by name. He wants a personal relationship with you. He knows you as you are. He knows that if you're small or struggling, you can't be more struggling than Moses, than Abraham. You can't be lonelier than them. And he wants that personal relationship. So God rejects this idea of us being terrified of him or assuming that he's this elemental force of nature and power that will subdue us. He loves you, he calls you, and he wants you to answer and say, Lord, your servant is listening. I want to be with you. So let's have a heart-to-heart relationship with God and see that from the very beginning, God was trying to get us to understand that. God bless.